Hello and welcome to our Lunch and Learn workshop on how to write good copy and grow your audience with Salt Copy founder Kat Rishbeth. Have I pronounced it? Fantastic.
Well done.
My name is Charlotte Connell, Ecosystem Director here at Climate Salad. And before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians in the land of which we meet. For me, that's the Gubbi Gubbi people, and I pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and any on the call today. Kat, I'm going to hand straight over to you to run this. And just for everyone on the call, I mean, we do it as a sort of lunch and learn. So, I'll probably be snacking in the background, but do let us know how you would like this to be run, interactive or questions at the end. There's always the chat function as well, if people want to call out. Oh, would you like it people to call out or just use the chat function? How would you like to run it?
Oh, sorry, you're asking me? Yeah. Yes, sorry. Sorry.
Right.
It's waiting for everyone else.
It was kind of a question, but it was also a statement like, but how would you like? Just a combination of all of the above?
Yeah. I'm going to share my screen because I've got a presentation that I'll run through, but I'd love for people to interact. I'm guessing when I share my screen, I should be able to see the chat, but I'll figure it out. But pop in, ask questions. I'd love for your interaction.
Fantastic. So yeah, if questions not being answered in the chat, just feel free to turn your mic off mute and call out.
Yep.
Wonderful. Yep. All right, I'll hand over to you, Kat.
Excellent. All right, I'll share my screen. Can everyone hear me? Yep. Good. All right, I'll share my screen. Now, let me just go into present. Oh, hang on. That's not right.
Don't worry, I have all the troubles with sharing screen because you have to present and then you can't see anything. So yeah. Don't worry.
Goodness, it's been a while since I've done something like this online, so feeling like a bit of a...
Kat, would you like to do a bit of an intro with you, or that's part of the presentation too?
Yeah, it is. Oh, no. Okay. Sorry, this is really wigging me out.
How does everyone feel about copywriting? Is it something that comes naturally and easy to everyone on the call? Guido's laughing.
No. I always think I'm correct until I show it somebody, and then they're like, "What?"
And that is actually a really good point that you've brought up, because when you become so intimate with your own business, you're a startup, like there's a lot of acquired knowledge that your audience may not necessarily have. So you have to take it back down to the basics and think of your audience. It's true. And even, I unfortunately get carried away with acronyms and we've got to remember that our audience might not necessarily totally be in the know.
Does anyone know how to share? Sorry, I'm feeling like an absolute clown right at the minute. I've got two screens. I'm trying to share my screen but still see my notes and see the Zoom, and it's really not working.
Can you email the presentation to somebody else, like myself, or to Charlotte?
No. Hang on. This might work. I don't know why it's not working.
Is there a presenter mode?
Yeah, but then I can't see you guys. Oh, here we go.
Perfect.
Now. Yoo-hoo! Okay, sorry. Right. Okay, so copy tips for climate text. How to write content that attracts, engages, and grows your audience. So a bit of an intro about me. I'm Kat Rishbeth. I'm a copywriter, and my business is Salt Copy. I work with brands that are making a positive impact on climate change. And my specialty is helping them to communicate their sustainability, environmental and social impact so that they can attract more of the customers that they love. I live in WA Southwest in Margaret River, which is wine, surf and bush. I'm a bit of a hippie at heart. Even as a kid, I was very conscious of waste consumption. I'd run around turning off lights and taps, dripping. It would annoy me. So, and the natural world, I'm a huge David Attenborough fan. I love traveling. I find comfort in the ocean and it grounds me. So I guess that's kind of why Salt Copy is my business name. It sort of works on lots of levels. And I started Salt Copy to fill a gap after working at an environmental consultancy as the in-house marketer. I would hear clients' frustrations of how to communicate their sustainability initiatives. So it was kind of to fill the gap, and it combines my love of writing, my love of the environment, and my drive to create change. So that leads into, I guess, my why, which is sustainability initiatives and climate solutions aren't easy to explain. They can be complex, scientific, and filled with industry jargon, but they are important for a continued healthy planet. So that's why I love to help businesses like yours translate and simplify their messages to educate audiences and promote a sustainable future infinitum. And I love this quote: "Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced." So I'm driven by a desire to create change. And there's lots of apathy in the world at the moment. It's hard to keep going. But if we don't at least try, then we will never know if we can change. So what is copywriting? What is its purpose? And how can it help you connect with your ideal customers? Copywriters write words. So we're not talking about legal copyright that protects intellectual property such as music, photography, art, and literature. Copy refers to the words used in advertising and marketing to promote the services and products of the brand. The main goal is to persuade prospects to act. This could be as simple as clicking a link, signing up to a newsletter, providing contact details, or making an inquiry. So becoming a lead, with the ultimate goal of making a purchase, becoming a customer. The purpose of copy. So copywriting works really hard. It needs to get attention, and the internet is a pretty busy place to be. There are millions of messages vying for attention. To maintain that attention, it needs to clearly communicate a message, and it needs to persuade the reader to do something, to take an action. So over to you guys. When it comes to communicating your messaging, what challenges do you have?
Just one?
No? Jump in. Let me know.
I mean, I have lots, but I'd love to hear from the community.
I struggle sometimes knowing how to start. I know what I want to say, but I don't know how to grab the attention.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else?
I think my issue is keeping it sweet and short. I'm known to write books rather than mails.
But specifically in terms of your industry, being in the climate tech and sustainability, what kind of challenges do you think that you've got that other industries might not have?
I think I assume I make a lot of assumptions about the audience and their level, of understanding. And the second one is I want to get to the end quick. So those assumptions make me skip in my communications, and people can say, "Where'd you go there?" Anyway, that's basically me.
Nice.
For me, it's more, I think, the objections that people sometimes have. Many people still are not on the same page in terms of climate change and the Paris Agreement goals. So there are a lot of, willingness to stay as things are. They don't want to change or to move on. So I think this is the challenge I sense.
These are all great answers. I love it. Does anyone else want to chime in before I go to the next slide?
Yeah.
Keeping it technical. That's the problem we're trying to decode, I suppose, the our products into something that my 4-year-old could understand, and just the storytelling, so that what we do, what our products can do, can be repeatable in a concise way, is what we're working right now. So I am super excited to hear what you have to say to help us in that matter.
Mm. I think our issue is writing for mixed audiences. So we have one set of personas who are very technically aware and are looking to understand exactly what our offering does. But then we have another set of personas who really don't understand at all and are operating at a much more sort of general level. So how do we sort of mix our communication to meet the needs of both groups?
All right, so a lot of
sorry, it's Kate Doss. I just had one to add, is I think because often many of us are working in a new space, there's almost 3 components. As one is we have to form the educators of what the problems are and what we need to solve. Then there's sort of like the technical nature of what we do, and then you also need to then explain more the case study and how it's applied. And I think because we're sort of having to create the education through to the case studies, often keeping it concise across the 3 is challenging at times.
Yeah. Okay. We'll move on. Thanks for all your input, guys. This is great. Whoops. So as climate techs, you face a few challenges when communicating what you do. There's a lot of technical terms that you use. Your solutions involve complicated scientific processes. The services you provide are complex and hard to explain. You need to make your products sound appealing, but often they can be dry, or you're perceived as a boring industry. You've got a lot you need to say and you don't know where to start. So I think a few of those things that you guys said I've sort of identified as well, but there's a lot more, obviously. So there's no such thing as a boring industry. There's only boring content. So what are the secrets to creating content that isn't boring? And the next sections of this presentation, I'll take you through some of the ways you can improve your writing to grow your audience. Plus, I'll give you some actionable tips you can start implementing straight away. So we need to talk about goals. Without goals, you're creating content for the sake of creating content, which quite frankly is a waste of time. So as Bill Copeland stated, the trouble with not having a goal is that you can spend your whole life running up and down the field and never score. So what goal should you be thinking about for your content? Knowing your goals is a vital step for creating any kind of content. Why are you creating this content? Are you educating the reader? Is it promoting your services or products? Will it attract new leads, or are you nurturing the warm leads? Then ask, who are you creating it for? Who are you trying to reach with this content? What stage of the buyer journey are they? Why should they care? And where will it go? Is it a Facebook post for LinkedIn, a blog article for your website, a new section on your services page to go in your monthly newsletter? And what do you want it to achieve? Is it for brand awareness, to improve engagement, or for lead generation? There's squillions of other ones as well, so they're just a few. And my hot tip for creating goals is to know the purpose for your content before you create it. This is super important. Then after you've identified the goal, create content that relates to it. So sorry, I'll repeat that. Fumbled my words. You should identify the purpose for each piece of content before you create it. Then create content that relates to the goal you want to achieve. Are you educating the reader? Is it promoting your services and products? Will it attract new leads? Or are you nurturing the warm leads? This will help you to focus on the topic while you're writing, and as a result, you will create more targeted, engaging, and useful content. Anyone got questions about goals?
But how do you not make it sound too salesy if it's always like, you know, buy this or sign up to that?
Well, that kind of leads into, a next section. So this is just about identifying goals, because you need to have a goal for each piece of content. That's the most important takeaway for this. Because if you don't have a goal, then why is the reader there? Why is the person on your page? Like, otherwise you're just throwing it out there, and it's not going to help you achieve a goal unless you've set that goal. Does that sort of make sense? Yeah. All right, well, let's move on. Once you've identified your goal, you need to think about who you are trying to reach. Who is your product or service for? And I'll give you a clue, it's not everyone. So David Ogilvy, who's a bit of a legend in the advertising world, he suggested that you don't count the people that you reach the people who count. So thinking about the reader, start by visualizing your ideal customer. When I do this, I like to get specific and think of a client I've worked with and the project I've worked with them on. Think about their personality. Are they serious or playful? Do they make spontaneous decisions, or are they more inclined to take time to research and make an informed choice? Get to know them and what appeals to them. What are their pain points? What problem are they trying to solve? How is your product or service going to solve their problem? Now that have you got them in mind? Now write to them, this one person. Be the solution that they are looking for. Knowing your ideal customer, who your ideal customer is, and their personality will help you use language that they can relate to and are comfortable with. So again, don't try to write for everyone. And I think that one of you mentioned that you've got lots of different personas, and it's really tricky to write to everyone of those personas. So each piece of content, just write it for one person. Don't please everyone, because when you do, you're not going to have any success. Your copy will end up diluted and it won't be effective in attracting anyone. So focus on reaching your one ideal customer and write to them. So think about the customer, what their problem is, what your solution is, and how you're going to solve their problem with that solution. That's your piece of content. Any questions? No?
I have one quick question for you. Sorry, I'll turn the video on. There's an interesting tension, particularly in this space, and I had this discussion with someone the other day about you've often got a fairly technical solution, you know, and often it's technical people that are involved in the decision-making process, but often you need to, you know, dumb it down, simplify it, you know, layman's terms. And so the tension between providing enough technical depth versus enough, layman's, like not oversimplifying it, but not overcomplicating it, walking that fine line is often the tension of like identifying who is this customer you're doing. Are they the technical side? Are they the non-technical side? Are they the decision maker? Are they an influencer? I think that's always the challenge, and so I often find that my materials are adapting, and what one person says, this was fantastic, you need to focus more on this, then the next person says, why do you even have that in there at all? So yeah, I think that's the biggest challenge in this space. How do you walk that line?
For sure. And I think you've got to remember that you've got different audiences on different platforms. So for instance, you might be writing something in your newsletter. So they're potentially people that have already transacted with you, that you've already provided a service, or they've bought a product. They're on your database. So when you're sending out your EDMs, they're at a different level of understanding than someone that doesn't know anything about you, that might come across you on social media. So there's different messages and different audiences. And I think when I say don't write for everyone, I mean for a single piece of content. Don't try and please everyone. Don't try and attract everyone with that piece of content, because there's different stages of awareness. And I don't know how many of you know about the buyer journey. So there's like all the different stages of awareness, from being unaware to being aware to decision making to purchasing. So depending on what stage they're in, kind of depends on the messaging and how much detail and technical detail you're needing to give them. Does that answer part of that question, Sam?
Yeah, I think that's sort of aligned with where I've landed on it.
Yeah, it sounds like you've kind of got the right idea. So some people are getting information, but they're not at that stage. So that's probably why they're saying, why are you giving me this? Or maybe it's your colleagues that are saying that. Anyone else? Okay, let's move on. So stories. We need to think about how we're going to convey our message, because people don't buy goods and services. They buy relations, stories, and magic. Storytelling is one of the most powerful tools you can use in your marketing. Humans are social creatures. We seek out narratives that make us feel good, that entertain us, that we can relate to, that connect us. Stories have existed for thousands of years. It is how we communicate, learn, and pass on knowledge. The aim is to write compelling stories in your marketing. A compelling story makes an emotional connection. Purchasing decisions are based on emotion. So if you can connect with your customers on an emotional level, you're on your way. Compelling stories build trust in a brand. The human element of stories makes a business likable. By being consistent and authentic, you can develop long-term relationships with customers through storytelling. Compelling stories are relatable. Your story should align with your customers' beliefs and reassure them that they are in the right place. You don't want to be challenging the readers. If you do, they aren't your ideal customer. A compelling story can demystify and simplify complex topics. Using stories to explain complex scientific topics is a great way to educate customers and demystify the climate tech industry. So every good story needs a hero and a journey. You can apply the elements of storytelling to your content. So the hero, your customer, overcomes an obstacle, the problem, with the help of a mentor, your business, to achieve the goal, the solution. When writing for digital platforms, you need to simplify the copy and make it easy for the reader to engage with. Audiences online have shorter attention spans. So if you attract their attention, you need to keep them engaged. So simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Sometimes less is more. Good copy is concise copy. It is easy to read and shouldn't require a high level of concentration. So a few tips for writing those stories. Be specific. When you are vague, your reader will lose interest. So paint the picture with colours and emotion. Use a conversational tone. It is easier for readers to understand and relate to when you use a conversational tone. So how you talk in everyday language is perfect. Don't try and go educational, scholarly, because it's difficult to read and people don't want to concentrate, or they shouldn't need to put effort into reading when they're online. Avoid unnecessary words, shorten sentences, and condense those waffling paragraphs. No need to try and outdo Keats or Wordsworth in your writing. Contractions are your friend. Don't be afraid of using them in your copy. They're much easier for readers to digest quickly. Sorry, I need a drink. Simplify technical words and phrases, and remove industry jargon that is unfamiliar to your audience. If there's an easier way to say it, then choose that option. Don't try and be smarter than the reader. This will only alienate them. And use an active voice for clearer and more persuasive copy. This might feel a bit awkward at first, but it will help you humanize your brand and connect with your audience. Talk directly to the person who is reading your copy. Using I, our, and we in your copy will alienate your reader just as much as highbrow language. Try replacing them with you and your. It makes them feel special, and we all like to feel special. Any questions?
That's interesting, because I actually thought using that, we're doing this, or I don't know. I thought that was kind of being inclusive or being more casual and conversational, but it can be exclusive. It can sort of alienate.
Yeah, it's interesting. If you try it next time you write something and you involve the reader by using you and your, it's kind of weird when you first do it, and often I'll have to go back and I'll have to replace all the we's because I'm talking from the business's point of view. And I'm like, how about we flip this and say you? I mean, it's not all the time. Sometimes it's not appropriate to do, but for the most part, it's a very good way to persuade your reader. Okay, so the offer. Don't ignore the end goal. Always, always, always include the call to action. Your reader needs to be informed at every stage of what you want them to do. Be specific, keep them engaged, and keep them on your page. So always give readers a call to action. Don't leave them hanging. So this goes for your web pages, social media posts, EDMs, everything. Because if they're left hanging, they will find something else to engage with. Remember, the web is filled with lots of shiny objects and notification pings that can be very distracting. What is your offer? Make sure that your content refers to the offer and make it obvious. Without an offer, there is no reason for them to be there. Provide value. To be effective, your call to action needs to provide value and reduce risk. So book a consultation. How about change it to book your free consultation with one of our experts to find out how you can start saving. Use actionable language. You need to tell your reader what you want them to do and be quite direct about it too. But the biggest challenge is to have only one call to action. More than one means that you're asking your readers to make a decision. This becomes too hard basket. They will leave without taking any action. And a great one for social media is to increase your engagement by asking a question or ask your followers to share or save your post. So there, 5 tips you can start using straight away to create awesome copy. Know your goals, write for your ideal customer, use stories, simplify your language, and don't forget to include the offer. And you can all celebrate. Time for questions.
Oh, Kat, when you said just one, so like call to action, is it just like, so be really specific. So it's better to have like for a newsletter, like only one rule call to action for that rather than there's this, there's that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit, often newsletters have links to articles, but I guess it's more when you're thinking about like if you're writing a web page and you're offering too many different things for them to do and buttons to click and choices, it becomes really confusing and they'll just end up leaving because you're overdoing it and it's not clear that one thing that you want them to do. So even if it's repeated on that web page, or for instance, I guess a newsletter, you could have the different articles, but it's always that button will send them to the website because you want them to go visit your website and read your blog articles and engage and learn more.
Yes, I just wanted to touch on something Charlotte was saying, kind of in terms of how you walk that line between, you know, kind of not sounding overly salesy, but still having the call to action, because you don't want to be one of those people that's on every post, you know, get my free ebook or whatever.
No, and it's about showing them the benefits. So I touched on reducing risk. Where is that post? So you've got to explain what the value is to them and reduce the risk by showing the guarantee of what they're going to get after they've signed up to your newsletter, or what they're going to get. Be specific about what they're going to get when they grab that free ebook. What exactly are they going to be provided? Is it just like some random ebook? But so instead you should say that you will learn how to become a better writer or a better advocate for sustainability, or whatever it is that you're offering. So it's about including that in the content, in that story. And then at the end, the call to action, they've already learned about what the benefits are. You're not just telling them the features of the book, it's the benefits of getting the book. So by the time they get to the call to action, the offer of getting the book, they know what they're going to get, and it doesn't feel so salesy. And I guess also by using stories, you sound less salesy because you're showing them the journey that they're going to go through by using your product or service. So if I go back to, where am I? So your customers have got pain points, which you guys are going to help solve with your services or product. So you need to present that to them and show them how they are going to be a better version of themselves once they've bought your service or product. So that's the solution that you're offering them. And it's not so salesy when it becomes like a journey. Like they're struggling with something at the beginning, and then when you show them how your service helps them or your product helps them overcome that problem, then they want it. It's not about sales. It's about them wanting or needing to reduce that pain. Is that making sense?
Do you have some examples of like bad copy and how you can sort of like reword it to be good? Or I guess you behind it.
Not at hand. I was going to do like a bit of a checklist based on these slides and add it. I was going to try and add it to my website and give you guys the link, so I can include that if you like. But it's, yeah, how do you mean make it better?
Oh, I mean, I guess that's the difference between just like a blurb of text as opposed to something that's been crafted for, you know, a copywriter's had a look at it and crafted it for the audience.
So kind of going back to, what was it? The earlier slides about how to simplify the language.
Yes, because I mean, is there a bit of a rule to, because LinkedIn seems to be a really great platform for many of our businesses to, like, you know, reach out to customers, especially the B2B. Is there like a sort of rule of thumb in terms of like how long text can be, or?
No. Short answer, no.
Yeah, but then I see like posts that are like incredibly long and have incredibly high engagement. So I'm like, oh, what?
I'm kind of a bit of a stickler when it comes to, I've seen so many, it's a bit of a trend. It's probably the trend that you've been seeing on LinkedIn. People like to write blog articles for their LinkedIn posts. And to me, I've got a background in content marketing and social media, so it seems a little bit crazy because they don't own social media. So how am I going to word this? The idea of social media is to attract potential customers and drive them to your website. That's from a marketing perspective. I know that LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram probably don't agree with that, and they probably penalize people that send traffic off of the platforms. But you are not going to get data on your customers or potential customers from social media platforms, but you can on your website because you own your website. So it's kind of this catch-22. Do we listen to the social platforms or what they want, or do we actually try and capture the data and understand what they want? Because sending people to our websites, we can get them to sign up to our newsletters, we can help them make a purchase, they can contact us like via email or phone call because it's all there, whereas social media platforms, it's not quite so easy to get them off. But in terms of length of posts, it's really up to you, but make sure that you have something that you want them to do after reading your post. And probably for social media, I would encourage engagement through commenting or sharing, because if they share your post, that's going to get a further reach, and your business will be seen by a lot more people when people engage with your post. So that is the number one thing for social media. Encourage engagement with your calls to action. I'm waffling a bit, so sorry.
No, don't be silly. I thought I just wanted to ask that question, but this is your chance. Like if you have a sort of, way to, a question you wanted to tap into Kat's brain and ask about growing your audience through good copywriting, here's your chance.
I had a question about the tone of your copy. So often I see sometimes really, really, really casual posts getting quite a lot of engagement, but then the opposite, like highly formal posts also get engagement. And then the importance of standardizing your tone or your language across the team, because often multiple people are writing copy for the same platform. How important is that? And how can you do that?
Super, super important. Great question. Consistency is key, because if your audience is seeing posts from your company written by different people with clearly different tones, that's going to be a very disjointed experience for them. So the best way is to try and put together some guidelines, brand guidelines, tone of voice, capture how you're going to be talking. And it might not be the same on every platform. So LinkedIn, you might be a little bit more educational, less conversational, casual. Still conversational, but a little bit more casual. Less casual than if you were talking on, say, Facebook. So identify the platforms and identify the audiences of those platforms, and how they talk is how you should be talking. So if your ideal customers are on LinkedIn and they tend to be a little bit more it's scholarly and educational in their posts, then try and tap into that. Find out what they are struggling with and answer them in the same language that they're asking those questions. Does that answer your question, Olivia?
Yes, thanks.
Cool.
Hi, so I'm going to jump in. I just want to ask, is there anything in particular based on your experience that engages audience the most, since you said that we all have a short attention span? I just want to know, like, is there an example of a step-by-step guidelines on how you usually format a copy, perhaps? And also, how do you title the copy to catch like the audience attention fast and quick? And yeah, that's my question.
Did you have a particular type of copy you're talking about? Are you talking about, for instance,
for example, blogs? Yeah.
Okay. So your headline should be very catchy. That is my number one tip for writing blog posts. So try and write a headline that sparks interest. And you can do that by asking questions. So how do I do this? What is the best way to do this? Or top tricks for overcoming shyness. So try and tap into what your customers are struggling with and the questions that they might be having on how to overcome that. So 5 top tips for tackling climate change, 5 ways to reduce waste in your business. You could write listicles. That's a really good type of blog post. So yeah, basically 10 things that you can do to reduce your carbon emissions. Yes, I guess, and keep the language concise and be clear about your messaging. So have your headline, which often you probably will write after you've written your article, but you could use a placeholder headline to help you focus on your writing. But yeah, I guess just try and be concise and focus on one thing. Often I'll write blog posts and I'll realize that I've probably got 2 blog posts. So I'll have to split it up and then write 2 different ones because I've tried to say too many things in one post. It's a bit of trial and error and experience. The more that you write, the better you'll get. And don't be afraid of publishing stuff, because you can go back and tweak it later on. But the point is that you've got it out there. You've put something out there. You've got content out there. I know that I said don't write content for the sake of writing content, but this is slightly different. I'm talking about actually having content out there, because if you've got content on your website that is answering the questions that your audience want to know, then it will get picked up by Google and it will help your search optimization. So search engines will see that you're writing content that is valuable, and they will put your website up higher in the search results, which is the end goal for most of you guys, I guess.
Sorry, can I jump in with another question there?
Sure.
Yeah, just keen to understand if you've got any tips for writing for a corporate audience versus consumers. So I know, for example, things like listicles, I mean, consumers just can't seem to get enough of that type of content. I mean, does that still work for a corporate audience? Do you have any kind of tips how to adapt some of those, some of those concepts into a corporate world?
Absolutely. And that's a great point you've made, because it's something that a lot of people struggle with. They're like, oh, we're writing for corporate, and somehow that needs to be different. But at the end of the day, we're writing to people. They're still people that we're writing to, that we want to gain the attraction. And it's not the business. The business is corporate, but at the end of the day, they're still human. So you still need to try and relate to them in the same ways, by using stories, by tapping into emotions, empathizing with their pain points, and being the solution that they're looking for. So you probably might want to tweak your language a little bit, but at the end of the day, the essence of the content is the same. Does that answer your question, Maria?
Yeah, thank you.
No problem.
I've also just put in the chat what a listicle is for anyone wondering.
Oh, sorry.
I was like, what? But it made sense. I mean, I was thinking that's what it was. So
now I'm talking jargon, aren't I?
No, everyone probably understood. It was probably just me going, what?
And I mean, I've tried to sort of condense a lot, and I didn't know how advanced you guys would be in your marketing and understanding, because it's such a large community. So I didn't know who would be showing up. So it sounds like you guys are quite a good understanding of digital and audiences and marketing. So perhaps some of the, I didn't go deep enough in some of these, but it's good to know and get your feedback for some of the things that I could have gone deeper on.
Can I ask a question
Sure.
regarding more to the business side of things? And this is obviously not an advertisement section for you, I understand that, but let's just assume I wanted to hire a copywriter. What is the typical business model? Do you pay by output? Do you pay by hours? So if I wanted to hire whoever, and let's assume it was sold copy, and I'm not asking for your pricing, I'm just asking for the business model that typically you would use.
Most copywriters charge by the project.
Okay.
Charging by the hour sets unreasonable expectations, I think, and a lot of other copywriters agree. And clients can get overwhelmed when they sort of see all the hours add up, and then you end up with an unfinished project. So I think it's always good to know the total project, and it could be a ballpark, because it might have lots of variables. So don't be afraid if you've asked for a quote or a proposal and it's got a ballpark. And, you know, copywriters are pretty open to negotiation within reason.
Yeah.
So you might have not enough budget, but you can turn around and sort of say, well, this is more my budget. And the copywriter might say, okay, we'll do less of the things to match your budget, but still keep you happy, and you'll still get the end product close to what you want.
Brilliant. Thank you.
That's okay. Any more questions about anything?
I will share the recording of this. And if we could have a copy of the deck, that would be amazing, Kat.
Yeah.
I've also just created a channel in our Slack for past recordings of workshops, because that was a question that was asked a little while ago, is like, where do we find these recordings? And I thought, I mean, they are on our YouTube channel, but why not just keep it to Slack so that you see where they are? Thank you so much for your time, Kat. And thank you so much, everyone. I hope these tips and tricks will help you. It's definitely made me reconsider how I write things, because I thought I was being really great with my we, but I realized I need to be, I have to rethink that. So thank you so much for your time, and we will share this with our community and talk to you soon. And Kat's also joining our community as a mentor as well.